every time they come to his name is zero for Jimmy Adkins, zero for Jimmy Adkins. And somebody, he asked somebody around there, said, what does that zero mean? He said, why, you just run off with it. Said, you just got everything. And he just went slapping his hands all over down there going, go. Said, I've got it and gone with it. Said, it's a zero every time.
Lorraine's going to have milk and bread.
Evan Hayes said pecan touching green.
Yeah, cornbread and milk. Did you ever have cornbread
Evan
and
said
milk?
pecan touching green.
You wouldn't like
That
it.
means Evan said pecan touching green.
Is anybody else coming?
No.
And have no food there. Evan, come on, we gotta get food here.
Kevin, do you want to?
Green.
Granddaddy wants somebody to say his blessing.
I will. I will.
Father in heaven, bless us, good help me, strength our bodies, and do us good in this day, since in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Evan, you can't touch any green, Evan. No green. That means you can't touch any brown or green. No brown or
Can you
green.
make it?
Mommy, we can't touch green. We can't touch green. Only green? We can't touch green. We can't. We can touch brown.
How come?
I want it.
God let you eat off the table.
Then I'm all the way over. That's how brown this is green. Oh no, this isn't brown. It's green.
This boy don't want to play.
I'm not hungry.
He doesn't eat anything to eat.
Daddy,
I'm touching that
Good
brown.
Daddy, have they torn down the old Walnut Grove school down here where you used to go?
You said they tore it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we used to go over in the woods, and then they built another one over in the bottom at Walnut Grove. And now they've got a big horse farm there now. They bought all that bottom and keep the horses there. And they had one got in the creek and drowned it. A fellow rode him right in the creek and drowned it. Of course, they done it to draw the insurance. And they drove $10,000. They had him insured for $10,000. And they got a whole bunch of horses there and a big flying barn and everything. I didn't get much stories you went down there.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know whether that was where the school was or not. I couldn't remember whether the
The
school
barn
was
is
there
built
or
right
not.
by, right close to where the school house is, you know, he said,
I want glass.
You gonna mix that up in there? Let me do it.
Well, now, didn't you live over on Doctor's Branch when you did when you went to school down there? Didn't you live over on Doctor's Branch when you went to school over there?
He did.
You did.
Yeah, I went to school down there, well, I went to Oak Grove till we moved down, bought that other farm down there where John Redwine lived. Then we went down to the old school building over in the woods, and they built a new one, and we went to that till we bought and moved up here. And then I quit school then. I would have went on, but I didn't. I just went to
Well, how long did you go to school? Down there. Where's Oak Grove? Where is Oak Grove?
Oak Grove. It's right across the hill. You're going around this ridge here when you get right up here before it turned out. It's on ruin right over this hill there, not too far.
Do they still have school over there? Do they still have school over there?
No, everything's consolidated now. And Orville Cannon's boy, Orville Cannon's son-in-law, they tore the schoolhouse down and he built him a home there out on where the house was. Lived up.
Well, where were you going to school when you met Mom? Where were you going to school when you met Mom?
I wasn't going to school.
You were all things then.
No.
You didn't meet her at school then.
She went to school down at Walnut Grove. Charlie lived down at the Mount Neil Howard Creek. So then we moved up here at the end. I quit going to school then, and then
Mom, is it?
they moved up in the Happy Branch here.
Oh.
Well, how come you quit going to school? Did you think you'd learned it all?
Huh?
How come you quit going to school?
Well, I was about 18 years old, and I was working in the blacksmith shop, and there's so much hauling on this road, and I just worked in the shop every day now. But I ought to went on to school.
Thought you'd learned it all, huh? Thought you'd learned it all.
Well, that's the age you have.
I said, thought you had learned it all.
You want sugar in yours. She don't want salt and pepper in hers, she wants sugar.
You put salt and pepper in yours?
Well, now did Wilder and Woodrow and all his kids go down there? Did Wilder and Woodrow and all the kids go down there at the same place?
Yeah, we all went to Woodrow in and Water. They, after we moved up here, then they went out here
To Vincent.
to Vince School, right up there. They'll bring that big bottom where the mill's at. That old mill is right now.
Yeah, now I went to school there.
You did?
Uh-huh.
Well, where did we live then?
Up in the
Up in the hall.
holler here.
Well, when they did all the traction back down, up and down through here, it was with wagons. That's why you was in the
Yeah,
blacksmith
there wasn't
shop.
no road. If you could ride a horse or drive a buggy or a log wagon, there wasn't no cars in that kind of the first car, and I didn't see it. And we was going to Oak Grove in the summertime, and it's sandy up that road, and there's a car come through. And some of them have seen it, but I didn't see it, and it went up past school and went on up that way, and they turned the school out, and the children took after that car track, following it up, see where it went to. That's the first that they claimed ever over in that.
Don't you spill that, Sherry.
Boy, they all laughed.
All over.
Boy, them two boys. No, one of them went over.
They're watching TV probably.
Sit down, can you sit in your own house?
What did they haul in those wagons? Coal? What were they hauling in all those wagons?
They made staves, use them, just like 2 before, 5 foot long.
Stand up for you,
Logs,
fella.
you know, and split them like writhing boards, and they'd haul them staves to the railroad over here.
Over by Wrigley?
Put in ice nails and mule feet, the road went up the creek. And the shop was down there, and they'd come along there, and they'd have 6 and 8 mule teams, you know, to each wagon. And they'd have to pull in there, they couldn't stand up, you know, and I'd check and put ice nail, pull the nails out of the shoe and put in 4 of them ice nails stuck down, you never seen one, but the sharp stuck down about that far and it'd stick in the ice. And I'd have to do that just every day, and if somebody was coming through. And then all the oil fields back over there, John Wheeler and Ike Wheeler, and Henry Wheeler over there was a big shot. And they'd have 6 and 8 mule teams, and there wasn't no road here. And they hauled from the railroad at Wrigley all that piping to the oil fields, fix all them oil fields. And they'd stay all night there at that. It took them one day to go from out here to Wrigley and back to our place, and the next day take it on in, they'd have to stay all night there.
Well, now I've heard you tell about digging coal out of these hills around here. Did you dig coal to sell?
Yeah, but not much. Not enough to hurt. But I got the back long, that's what's the matter with it. Because I worked in the shop so much, you see, and no furnace, no chimney, flue, and the shop just stayed full of smoke, you know, and right up over that far in that coal.
Just like
Ever
smoke.
since I was a boy.
Just
That's
like
worse than
smoke.
working, yeah. That's worse than working in the coal field.
Well,
And then
now-
when they built these roads, I done their blacksmithing, their steel wouldn't last in this sand rock. They had bits to screw on that jackhammer steel, and they just wear them out right now. And I told them I could sharpen them. Take them, throw them bits away, and they hauled me, and I went to the jackhammer, and I told them, I said, them ought to be sharpened. And they had a horseman there, best fellow you ever saw was a blacksmith. And he didn't know anything about sharpening. And I said, let me fix one for you. And the boss man had come through every Saturday evening and have her money. They charged in 2 cents a check for writing checks. And they said, in their hands are working. And he'd every man check or money, he put in the envelope. Hey, you know what every one of us know, and bring them hands to it. He wouldn't write no check. And I told him, I said, I want to fix you a bit. And I took that bit, and they're holler, like a rifle gun barrel. And the side hammer, you turn the air on, and you have to go down through that hole and blow that dust up out of there all the time. Well, I just took them and took the bits off and put them away and put that and sharpened it just like an oil well bit, you know. Then took and made me a punch and cooked it just like my finger and drove it right in there. In that opened up that hole. And buddy, they use them right now and they throw their bits away, they never buy them more, and I sharpen them all the time and then throw down through here to Carter County line. And they had a big sled, big as this about as wide as this trailer, about the size of this room. And the chop tool was on it, and the hardest weather you ever saw. And I'd try and steel and then I'm pulling that with a caterpillar. Big bulldozer, you know, on the road. You put with the road as they graded. And starting to steel, and I stay about 100 yards behind the shooting. And keep the bit sharpener. I had to sharpen. They had 3 hammers. They had a 2-foot bit, a 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14 foot for each hammer. And I had to sharpen steel for every one of them, keep them laying down with the hammers.
And this is when they were building the highways through here.
Hmm?
This is when they were building the highways through here and not.
Yeah, with all this. And down between here and Grayson, you know, you went across that Tom Arbor Hill, we stayed there nearly a month cutting that down and worked every night. And I was always on the night crew. Then they worked 12 hours every night, and I'd come home and work on the farm of a day, many a day, and go back of a night and work in 6 hours. I mean, from 6 to 6 the next morning, 12 hours. And then when they got this done, they told us that when we got down to Carter County, we was finishing up that night. The boss man come to us, the big shot, said, I want you boys, and me and Milford Adkins, Little Willie, and Woodrow, and Donnie out there. And maybe Woodrow, maybe Walter. Anyhow, we finally all got there, but us that was working then said we want you in Jessamine County in the morning, or tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
And you don't do that.
Now, I can remember you going to Jefferson County to work.
And the niggers down there, they lay out of a night and watch us drill, and we bucket their guns on and work of a night with their pistols, and belts on from their guns on the side of it. Them niggers would stand around and watch us, you know, and we was afraid they wouldn't let them work because they'd break the steel. They didn't know how. And we done the drilling for, we worked out of the way in the winter. It got so cold we couldn't hardly stand it.
Well, where were you working when the coal mine fell in on you, or almost fell in on you?
When
Was it you, or was it Donnie and his boys that were digging coal?
No, I was one of them right down there. We lived right up behind the holler. And that night, before this happened, something just like a big rock hit the top of our house up there. And Mama said, what was that? And it made all the tracks you ever hear.
You heard it though.
Huh?
You heard it though.
Yeah, but that was
Well,
the
I
night
heard it
before.
It's too. We was in the bed. We hadn't went to sleep. It's just like something was hell and breaking the roof in. Well, I never thought about nothing. I told her, I said, I don't know what it was, but I said, we can't help it. Next morning we were down there and we was shooting coal down there on that slate rock, just slick as this floor. And the coal was back under that cliff. And Dad always did tell us that that cliff would turn over someday. Up on top of it, it's way up high. Oh, it's way in there higher than this trailer. High as 3 of this trailer from the top, but up about as high as this trailer back in there. And a piece about as big as this trailer out there. And the dogs were running rabbits up in the hole. There's a crack up there. Well, the coal was holding it up. Well, we was going with a 6-foot auger, started into the lower end, and bore back under yonder, and shoot the coal out here on that slate with a lay a log or something there, and let the coal jump out here and then haul it out. Well, we shot it out, come on up through there, you know, and just about the time we got done, just as we were about ready to quit, I had a young pair of mules and had them in the sled, and we were hauling the coal on the sled. And Donnie was down under there shoveling that, and I just got it up. I'd been laying in under there, picking the coal roots back under there, you know, and raking it out. And I just got back, and Donnie was shoveling out enough for that stretch over. And all at once, the mules just jumped like that, and they felt that hill coming in. And I hollered right quick, and Donnie jumped back, but that all fell out over here and broke the shovel handle to in Donnie's hand and covered up all of the augers, sledgehammers, and everything. And just it just rocked just like that now. Come out before we jumped back out of the way, and the mule started running. I catch them, they hear it coming, you know, and they pull me out of the way, and the rest of them just left it happen. And that was a warning that hit our house.
It was probably cracking farther out.
And Dad always did tell her, he never let us go back in there more. And that filled the whole creek down there. Run up, stopped the creek up, but it finally melted down and the water cut that clay, this soft clay, you know, with the hill and dirt and so on, and finally washed it out. Most of it. And I think water had it bulldozed out. And I missed your supper.
I did. You've been talking, I've been eating.
Well, now, Daddy, what made you decide to move from here down below Sandy Hook?
You know what then?
What made you decide to move from this area down below Sandy Hook?
Now I brought a player over Mennefee Adkins. You asked why I moved, didn't you?
Yeah.
I knew the Adkins wanted to sell me a place over there, a new house. I never will forget it. Right there by the cemetery, just where you turn up the cemetery on the right, the house is there now.
Come on, man.
And I bought it. He said, I'll take $1,100 for it. I said, all right, I just bought it. And I bought that one. And I was laying for the two-story building that John Chris lived in.
I can remember that.
And I told Mommy, I said, if John Chris, and I said, he won't stay there too long. I said, if he ever buys it, I'm going to buy it. Well, one night, John, we go over there and sit up a while, and him and his wife come over our place. And Mommy hadn't went to bed, but I lay down on the bed and had money all over the bed that had the counted up, you know. I was laying for John, and him and Norman, he married my cousin, come in about that time. He said, if I knowed you had that much money laying around there, he said, I wouldn't have come in. Said somebody robbed you. I said, no, I ain't got enough to pay nobody to rob me. I just gave it up and put it away. He didn't know how much it was. Well, we kept on fooling around. In a few days, I kept watching. I'd go there every evening or every night, me and Mama, to see if he wouldn't name it. Went over there one night, and John was ready to beat. I believe he was drinking a little bit. And he was on the deal of buying a home in Sandy Hook. And they priced it down. And he was trying to sell that, but he hadn't never named it to me, you know. Norman said, John said maybe Mennefee buy that. No, he said he just bought that and over there and said he wouldn't want to buy it. I said, what is it? I know what he wanted. I said, what is it you want him to sell? He said, I wanted to sell this house and all. Well, I said, if you price it worth the money, I'll buy it. He said, I'll tell you what to do. He made Norman take me down the bed and showed me around, but I already know everything. Cooked this attorney was about it. Had upstairs to it. And I said, I went though down there. I said, John, what do you want for it? And he come in, John was an awful talker.
I had him, he taught me in
He's a
school.
smart man too.
So,
He said, I tell you what I'll do. He didn't think about, you know, he owed $500 up at the bank on that place. He said, I tell you what I'll do. And I just sat there and listened to him. He said, you pay that note off. That I take $1,500. He said, you pay that mortgage or note off up there, and you can pay me $500 next year and $500 the next year. Pay for it. I said, John, I just bought it. But I said, I'll pay you $100 right now. And I gave him $100 and he wrote me a receipt for it. He jumped in the car and went over to town to take the other fellas up, and they'd heard it somewhere or another before he got there. They had to go the next morning, you know. And they raised $500 on him. He come back over. He said, you know that I had a place contact that. I said they raised $500 on him. Said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, I won't back out. I said, no, John. I said, I know you will back out. But he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, I'll give you $300 in money if you get count our deal off. I said, no, John. I said, I brought that from their home. And he turned around to the boy. He said, well, we just have to go back and give him the $500 that he meant business when he bought it. Well, I went over there then on Monday to make the deed. That was on Saturday to make the deed. And I went up there and paid off the $500, left in $500 note, and come back down. But I'd already counted the money, every bit of it, and had it in $20 bills, except I think $100 that I had paid. And we went in the clerk's office and sat down there, and he come in to tell me right before the clerk. to write the deed up and said, draw it up, said, he's already paid me $100. He went and paid that $500 up there and said, he'll make 2 notes out there for the other night. Then I said, oh, I said, that ain't the way. Well, he thought I was going to try to back out or kick on it, but I didn't understand it that way. One night he called it over again and said, that is what I told you. I said, yeah. But I said, I'm going to pay you every dollar right now on your fingers. I just laid the money out on mine, and I said, you count it. Well, he counted it. He laughed. He said, well, I just able to give you change. I didn't know you had enough to pay for it. And I said, all right, it's fine. He counted it, and then the clerk, county court clerk, counted it, and he said, it's all right. And they just made the deed out, and I went back home. And he moved out there and right in there too. And then went on in, and I'd give $1,100 for that house over there. And I bought off of Neely. Well, Floyd didn't have no place to go, and him had separated, you know, and he wanted to rent the house. So when I moved out of it, I said, no, Floyd, I won't rent it. I said, you just move in it. I won't charge you no rent. He moved in it, and the next few days he said, I'll give you $1,800 for it. I said, all right. And I just sold it to him. Well, I paid $1,500 for the John Chris place. Went on in a few days, and I went to somewhere. Yeah, I was working as a warden then. And I was gone, and John Henry Williams come down there, and I was gone, and got Cindy the price at the time. And she said, well, if Mennefee was willing, said I'll take $4,500 for it. But the one I get $1,500 for. He said, all right, I just bought it. Well, when I come in, he come back down, and he said, well, I said, I bought the trade. Well, Mama told me, said, I sold it out. I said, well, all right. Well, John Henry Williams come to me, he said, well, but she said it was all right with you. I said, it's all right with me. I said, you can have it. I said, she's fine with me. He said, all right. He said, let's go to New Boston. He said, Mennefee Adkins wanted to buy his little place somewhere down there, out this side of there. And we went on down there, went in at the steel mill. I had my uniform on, my sidearms on, and we went in there, and he called for Mennefee Adkins. Called in the Wilton office, and they called, got Ballard to come in. Ballard walked in, he said, well, now I want to know what's up. He said, here's the county judge here and the conservation officer. Have I done anything? And John Henry said, I just want to know if you're going to take that house or not. He said, sure, I'll buy it. John Henry said, it's already sold to you. We just come back up home, and John Henry paid off the $4,500, and I went and walked in, moved from there, I went to Lewis County. I went down there, and I was in the land for that farm down there, you know, the Quillen farm. And now I'd been going down there to Uncle Willie Harris and been all over it, you know, and I went to purpose every time I go to try to get him prices done. Well, they didn't know, you know, anything about it. The old man and woman, and they had a Paris, never was married, and he ain't married yet. And it belonged to him. And I said, why don't you sell me this old place? I said, you're getting too old to work it. And we sitting out under them big shade trees, you know, with Mr. Quillen said, first sell it to him if you want to.
Well, now, didn't Uncle Willie live right across the street where Christie's live now?
Mm-hmm.
What, you mean in Lewis County?
Uh-huh. Didn't they live right there next to Bob Kaiser's and that?
Yeah. And that farm through there, and them big shade trees in the yard, you know, and hot weather, and they sit in the shade. First said, oh, well, if you don't care, I'll sell it to him. I said, how much will you take for it? He said, I'll take $8,000. I said, you sold it. I said, let's go to town and make the deal. I said, I'll pay you $4,000 down and pay you the other $4,000 when you move out. But I said, now I want possession, and told him a certain time. Well, he said, I ain't bought no place, but he said, I'll get out, and they liked me, and they're good people. I said, now, Pat. I said, now, the day that you're supposed to give me possession, I said, I'll be here with a truckload of furniture, and if you're ready to go, I'll just move the house with you. He said, all right. Went down there, and when they wrote the deed out, I said, well, just make it, I'll give you $5,000 down there and pay the other when they move, when you give me possession. He said, all right. And about over the day that when I give John Henry possession, we loaded up everything we had. He pulled right in on Mr. Quillen, And he was a moving out. He bought a place up the road there above Garrison there, and it was a moving out.
We spent the
We'll
first
move right
night in
in.
the house with them.
I moved in the house, but they wouldn't have cared. They were good people. And best old people ever saw. I guess all of them dead now. That is, the two old ones. And I lived down there then a while, and some fella that lives there now, he kept trying to find me.
Carrington.
And he said, come there one day, and he said, what do you take for this place? I said, I'll take $15,500. He said, let's go down to the bank. And I went down there and he wrote me a check for it. And I just deposited the money in the bank.
Well, it just don't pay the name for prices around here, does it?
And I'd already had that piece down here. And then I bought the Y here, you know, after that died. I bought that over there. I give him, I've got the paper somewhere here, $1,000 a piece for all of my brothers and sisters. Lord as administrator, and they couldn't agree on it. And Minnie did say too, but she didn't like Kathleen, and she didn't want to have Minnie wouldn't sign the deed, but I'd buy it, and I tried to get her to. I said, Minnie, I don't want it. I don't need it. I said, sell it to Walter. I said, no, said I won't sign it to Walter. I said, I ain't got it against Walter. She didn't like Kathleen, you know. And after I told Floyd, Floyd said, I'm going to sell it. I said, I have to. I said, right over there, I said, if they take $1,000 a piece, for one of them, I said, I'll buy it and sell it. Well, they agreed. I said, all right, we'll just make the deed. I said, I'll give each one of you $1,000 a piece. But I didn't have the money that I know I'd get, and I just went back to Lewis County and went into Mr. Cook and told him I needed. I had some money. I said, I need $5,500 right now. I said, anybody that want to know? I said, I can get any security. I said, don't need nobody else to know. I said, you can get the money. So I said, just give me credit for it. And I said, I'll check it out. I told them that I was buying a place up here. And I bought that. And then I bought a place down there then. And me and Mommy aimed to move there in Banksburg. And I give
I remember that.
$6,500 for that house, and there's two houses on, brand new house that's been built about a year and a half. And I went down there and aimed to move. I bought it, already went over here and bought carpets to go on the floors, providing that Mommy wanted to move. Well, she first decided to move, and then she decided she didn't want to move. And I said, well, I'll just rent it. And I rented the secretary there at that big lumber yard, some woman. And she gave me, well, the fellow I bought it off of it wanted it for 4 or 5 months, and he stayed and paid me rent on it for 4 or 5 months. And then I rented that woman, and I got $3,900 there. And I got $900 rent off of it. And I was here in the store, and Morris Appleby's wife called me up and said, would you be interested in selling your place here? I said, sell anything I got. And this fellow standing here wanting to buy it. I said, what do you take for it? And it's supposed to be $6,500. I said, I'll take $8,500 for it. I heard him tell her, come on down. And she said, well, he said, come down and make a deed. Get your money. I said, okay. I went down there then, and he said, let's go out to the bank. And he wrote me a check for $8,500. And then I go back up here then. We'd already moved up here. And then I bought that farm out of town.
What farm?
So,
Oh, you mean the joining this one?
Mm-hmm.
You mean the one right next to this
over at
one?
that point there and comes right down further in this bottom, goes up the road there and right through J.C.'s yard down that barn's mine, right up that ridge down and up down Clyde Keaton, crosses, goes up down there and brings in, comes back out here down this way. Now Debbie, Debbie fool with her mother out there, she get over the light that way, switch it off. Light it about and throw it back up. You know me like my ham?
Oh, Daddy, you fed us too good.
Hmm?
You fed us too
Around the meetings, the one they had meetings here at town and down at Grayson. so on. And he said, you come down, because you don't have to tell nobody nothing about it. Come to Frankfurt and take the examinations, get passed. He said, you've got it. Well, you met Mr. Wallace down there.
Yeah, and I remember John Will Curry. I remember meeting him too.
Well, now he was an awful fine little fellow, small man. Anyway, I got ready to go, and John Will said, let me tell you something. And I know he was a smart man. He said, don't you go for a week or two. He said, you study up the game laws so you know everything in that, all the law on the game, every bit of it. And every book you can read and everything. And then he said, he will take it. And I don't believe he told me the truth, though. He said they took me all day to take it. And I know he was a smart man. Well, I got to tell him about that, so I got in the law book and went to read. He gave me some law book and read it, and I put up and down. That was a fact. And I come back home. They wanted to swear me in right there. And I said, no, I don't think it's fair. I said, they violators up there, and if I slip in on them and go to catch them, they'll all get mad at me, call me trouble. I said, I'll take my papers and my badge and everything, and go up there and just show them my badge and tell them that I'm going to wait 2 weeks for them to quit their violating. Well, Mr. Wallace told me, he said that'd be all right. I said, that's nice to do that. So, I done that, and I never caught a man. We'd go to their meetings, you know, and I said, I can't find nobody. And John Will Curry said, you'll find them after a while. He said, they're just debating you. He said, you'll find them. And went on in, I guess it was a month before I made an arrest. I checked plenty of license. But a fellow over in, that I used to play ball with, Wallace Whaley, was deputy sheriff. And he wrote me a letter. That's for the season open for a muskrat farm. And gave me 4 names and told me right where they live. And said they got their buildings full of muskrats. Awesome. So I just went in here before John Henry Williams and got a search warrant from the letter, you see. When I showed him that letter, he had to give me the search warrant. And I got a search warrant for 4 of them. Go out and went to one of them. He had a big brindle bulldog in the yard and had a big high pail inside there, and that dog was about to tear that pail down. And him and his wife was in there. And they didn't act like they wanted to talk or anything. I was in uniform, you know that, with guns on and everything. And my badge. And I spoke to them after. Who here about it, so I said, well, now I said, I'm in a hurry. I've got a search warrant for them muskrat hides, but I can possum hide. Now I said, you just well take me to where they're at, where I come after them. I never seen the fella. He said, all right. It's a big old house. But I said, the first thing, I said, do something with that dog. I said, now I don't want to get dog bit, and I don't want to have no trouble. And I said, I'm afraid of a dog. He made the dog mine. He took right up that ladder. His wife ahead of him after he said, go up this ladder. When I finally had him tacked to the rafter, 30 some odd hides from across up in there. I said, all right, take them over the board. And I got back down. And he took them off and put them in my car. And he didn't know I had a warrant for the rest of them. So I thanked him, told him, I said, now, you get in the car, you have to go with me. I said, I'll take you to Sandy Hook. He said, all right. And he got outside the car. Now, he said, what about me meeting you over here at the post office? I said, will you be there in the next hour, hour and a half? He said, I'll be right there. I said, all right, it'll just save you trouble. I went on to the next fella and lived over in a holler, right for this holler. And he had killed one fella, a young fella, and he was about, at that time, looked like about 20 years old. And he had as pretty woman as you ever saw, and she was about that age, and he wasn't at home. She was standing on the porch for washing. I had to walk up the holler, and didn't know what he told, and I asked her. So I told her who it was, and asked her where her husband was at. She said he went over to his mother's to clean out a well. I said, well, he's got a bunch of possum hides here, and I said, I'll come after him. She looked at it and said, no, I don't think so. And I said, listen, sister. I said, they're here. And I said, I don't want to search for them. I said, I've got to search for them. And got proof that they are here. And I said, if you will, you just get them for me. I didn't want to go in the building. She said, all right. And she just went and opened the smokehouse door and brought them out and put them in a fire sack. I thanked her and I pulled it out. I said, where's he? And she told me where he's at. I said, well, now, when she coming home, when she told me, I said, would you wait when he comes in till he changes clothes? Said he'd been down in the well. I said, yeah, when I come back. But I said, you tell him to meet me out down at the post office. She said, oh, I'll see you to get that. I said, all right. I went on there, and that made 2 of them. And I'd got another one somewhere on the way. There were 4 of them. And then I went to another place. Well, they got suspicious, the fella did over in there, and I was hunting for inquiring. I stopped at the post office and inquired for this other fellow. They said, no, I said, we never heard no tell us this fellow that. He was a porter, some kind of this fellow runs for Jersey, yeah. And I said, no, said, ain't no one that lives in this country. And I think somebody went on down the road. I think myself, they got on to it. Went down the road a little piece, and there's a woman right beside the road under a big shade tree of washing, an old time washing. Washing 7 boats. I stopped and spoke to her, asked her if she knew the family and lived in that country, and the name. She said they lived just right around the bend, right there. I said, no, I think I rode up there, you know, and I hid and put it down over my bag and my gun and rolled right up in the car, right in front of the door, and there's a wolf come out. The house set back like that house over yonder. And I honked my horn, here he comes. I never seen him, very big fella. He come walking out, you know, and I walked up and spoke to him, and I said, did you ever sell that cow? I was trying to buy him that cow. He said, what cow? I said, did you have one to sell? He said, why, Lord, no. Well, I said, somebody got me to make a trip for nothing. I said, I made that like you're going to turn away. And I looked back at him, you know, and I said, you got any possum hides? He said, yeah, I got 2. I said, where are they at? I'd like to look at them. I didn't tell him I wanted to buy them. I said I wanted to like to look at them. He said, well, they're right there in that building. I said, get out and I'll go look at them. Well, I kept him on this side and had me hung over here and just walked along, kept talking about first one thing and another. And they'd already told me, this fella did, you know, that he was one to have it. Well, when he opened the door, I hung 2 of them, just for his skin. And I said, he might have had more here, I don't know. And I said, well, I'll take them off of the board. Now, he didn't say I was going to buy him or what I'd give for him. He took one of them off and looked at him and said, why, you never told me what you'd give me for him. I just pulled him right back and showed him his badge. I said, they're already mine. Boy, you can push him over the stick. He took it off, took them off. I said, you'll have to go to town with me. I said, I'll have to take you to town. He said, all right. But he said, now listen, he said, I never caught them. He said, my little boy caught them 12 years old. I said, ain't you responsible for what he does? I said, he didn't have no right to catch them. I said, first season ain't opened yet, and they're in your possession. I said, I have to take you apart. He said, well, will you let me change clothes? I said, yes. I said, I'll take you and put them in the car. I'd walked out to that building. I went out there. About that time, he got back out there, and I registered it up, and I had to back in that for it. And I pulled out, went on to the post office, but this sheriff wrote in the letter that young man and that woman that I went up to holler about told me, he said, now don't let him get in the back seat. He said, he killed one man, and he said, he'll knock the brains out. He said, put him right inside of you. I said, I'll take care of that, too. Well, when I come down to the post office, I was ready, and he just run, you know, to get right in, jerk the rope, and then get in the back seat. I said, wait a minute. I said, you're going to ride with me. No, I'm going to ride back there. I said, no, you're going to ride here with me. I said, the car is mine, and you're under arrest, every one of you. In my custody, I said, you just get right on the other side of me and these other 2 fellas from right back. 3 fellas from right back there. Well, he got in the side of him, and they never talked much till we got started. And this man that had the 2 possum hides, he said, I want to know, said, that boy caught them last night. Said, I want to know how come you to find out they was here and come right first. The next morning to get them, the next day. I said, well, I said, that's just one of these things. I said, a little bird told me that. And they sat there, and I drove right on, coming on, and way down in down to go into Canada just before we get to Grayson. Back in that mean cut in that water hole section, and it's mean now, and they've been killing people over there now. They got roads in there. And they said, now, I want you to tell us something. Said, everybody in this country said if we hadn't caught this ourselves, said the other fellows would have caught them, and we wouldn't have got nothing. I said, you just join our sportsman club, and tell them fellas that you're in the club now, and if they undertake to violate the game laws, that you'll turn them up. Bad dogs, they joined the club, and they quit their violating. over there. That stopped it all. They joined the club.
What year did you start working for the state, Daddy?
Hmm?
What year did you start working for the state?
I believe it's 46. If I'm not mistaken. There's usually one answer the phone. Sportsman Tom's called up down out of that night in North County. If we checked for putting my name in the paper, that fella killed me, claimed he shot me right out, you know. Lorraine told him that, well, you better wait till you kill him first. He hasn't been shot yet.
He was at home. I was looking at him.
You know, really dangerous job.
Don't you remember that?
No.
What happened?
Apparently some fella was going to
We
kill him.
had, there's one boy come in from out of the service, down below in the state while I was working. And they need the game warden, and they put him in the game warden. Soldier boy that got out. Had a woman and 2 children, I believe. And he was going along the railroad. He parked his car and sat down on the railroad. He found the car, and it was a squirrel hunter. And this warden had a bird dog with him. And this squirrel hunter come down out of the woods. When he come down the car, and this girl started his violator, seen he was a warden. He shot that fella in the breast, and he rolled over down towards the car and walked up and shot his head off. And just drove on down the road and told what he'd done. He had a load of squirrels, you know, and he was out of season. He didn't have no right to kill them. He went on down the road and told him what he'd done. And hid out, but the law got him. And they went to get this warden, and that dog wouldn't let nobody come to him. And they had to go and get somebody that could throw a lasso and lasso that bird dog before they could ever get that man and get him up. And our department, they made up money to give that woman 2 babies, and I put in, I believe I sent her $5, and Floyd put in 10, I believe. We sent her $15. And went on a little while longer. The other fellow was running the track line, and they had it in for him. And they went to one of the traps and put a dog in it, so the dog would holler. And that warden was running that trap line. And by over, and he went to take the dog out of that trap to kill him.
Well, you got your gun taken once, didn't you? Somebody took your gun away once, didn't
Yeah. There's 4 of them. I had them under arrest. And I had, good thing that I had Walter's high-powered rifle with me. And I had one of them under arrest. We checked the others out. And I had Amos Howard, the old fellow with the car. He's dead, but I know he was sitting over there in the bank and heard everything he said in the ditch. So I kept blowing for him, and I had shotgun on my shoulder. I took off that fella. And I had a 44 Smith & Wesson Special, new and 6 inches in the barrel. And I had it on this side. Like that. Sometimes I'd catch 2, but that time I wished I had it in there and hid. And this there fellow was a little bit of a fellow. And they just an I-6 feet, and I had to drive in the Jeep, and I'd go and put my hand, blow for the other fellow to come on out. And he watched this thing, and he jumped and grabbed my gun, and before he could set the cat, buddy, he had it the hammer back right in my breast. I told him, I said, you ain't got enough nerve to pull the trigger. I said, I'm not afraid to shoot you. But he was liable to. This young fellow there, this mean as all get out. I said, I'm not afraid to shoot me. I said, if you don't go in with me, I said, you just go take the shells out of my pistol and lay down and get in the car and drive off. I know they'd get them later. Well, he wouldn't do that. He just back over and got in the car, and the other fellows had the shotgun, he backed over and got in the car, and they just drove off. And Amos had come up out of the creek ditch there, and I know he was sitting there. If I'd have been in his place, and they'd have done him that way, and him with a rifle, I'd have shot the gun out of that fellow's hand for him, but he went off and left me 2 or 3 times. So I went right on in and got a warrant for him, and pulled out to Grayson, and told the sheriff, I said, I want you to go get this fellow. George warrant. He said, I'll get him. Well, he went, and I went too. But they told me, said, now you better not go up to the house. Said he was suspicious of something. He see if you and said he'd be gone. Well, he went. I waited out there, sat in the car. So he went up there to get him, and the boy had left. But he left the gun with his daddy, and they give the gun, my pistol, to the sheriff, and I told the sheriff, some of the rest of them took it in to give it to the sheriff. And I went back to get the gun. I told him when he drove off, I said, you take my gun and give it to the sheriff at Carter County. I'll be after tomorrow. Notice going to have a warrant for him. And he took the gun and left it, and then the sheriff went. Of course, he knew that the boy wasn't at home, but he made the trip. And that boy left, and I never seen high and low off of him. And this Harvey Parker said he'd defend and see if he got him for $150. Well, the department will offer to pay it. And I said, no. I said, we did it sometime. Told us the warrant, and that boy, I don't know whatever was that. So I got my gun. But I know I didn't think you were shooting. I said, you ain't got the nerve to pull the trigger. And I'd been a kind of over high-powered rifle in that Jeep. And if I hadn't have took it home, I'd just let it drove off, and when it got off out the road, I'd have just chucked every one of the men in that car. I'd have shot them down like that with that high-powered rifle. They never got away. But I didn't have it, so I just...
I'm glad you didn't have it.
I have two.
I went all the rest. I'd go through the woods when the deer season and check hunting rifles. But through the woods, and see men behind trees every which way. If they had a 10 for me, they could have killed me, and nobody would ever know who they had. There's a fella down there, a Concord, come to me and said, somebody's killing my squirrels. Every squirrel I've got, and I want you to come down there Sunday and catch them. Said, be right in there Sunday. I said, I just was fishing with Sunday's over folks. I said, no, I can't come Sunday. I said, I've got other things to do. I can't be there. Well, I had it in my mind right then to go. I pulled out and went down there, parked my car, and way back in the woods, and I heard a shot right off out through there. And there's a grass field out there, and I went out there and leaned around the nose right about where it shot. And there's a big white-faced cow. She must have had a young calf or something. Boy, she come out for you just a belling, you know, just like a hop. And I run down across that field and jumped the fence over the woods. And I know that the fellow was right close to me. And I slipped out through there to a big hickory and leaned up against it. In that way, I'd always get my back up against a tree or up against a cliff so they couldn't get behind me. And I was watching, and there's another hickory right out from me, about like me across the road. And I just suspicioned that he was there somewhere. And he never saw me. I clipped in on him, but he was watching for another squirrel. And he shot one out, and he hadn't picked it up. And I seen him, he was behind some little shrubbery bush. And he had his gun down like that, and it was flying right where I was standing, but he didn't know I was there. And he was watching for that squirrel. Well, there wasn't nothing between me and him over down the bush to the side. Well, I just eased and started walking, but I know he was about it, and I had my gun in my hand. And I got down and close this trailer to him, and he had the gun right toward me. And I said, lay that gun down. And he just bent over like that and looked right at me with that automatic shotgun in his hand. I said, lay her down, buddy, and I just kept going, but I got up close and ready to you to him, and I had my gun right in his breast. I said, lay her down. I said, well, I don't mean lay it. He just laid it down. I said, get back away from it. He got back away from it. I picked the gun up and unloaded. I said, get that squirrel now and let's go to my car. So we went, and I brought him to Banksburg. And he said, I'm hungry, I'd like to have some dinner. I dropped the gun up in the car. I said, all right. I took him in the restaurant and bought his dinner. He said, I want to call my dad. And the fellow that wanted me to catch that fella was this boy's dad, and this boy was from the house and come over there, you know, and his daddy knew he was coming, and he wanted to know where I was going to be. So when I called, when he called him, he come to pay his fine. And Lord, he's a man about to blow up. Said I wouldn't think about a warden being honored enough to catch a fellow for one little old squirrel right before everybody left for us. And I didn't think the way you acted, if you was so damn dominant that you'd uphold your boy just as that. I said, he's fined $29.50, and if you don't pay it, he goes to jail. But he paid the fine. The boy said, now I'll be back in there. And he said, you better not be back in there anymore. Well, I said, I don't know what time I'll be there, but I'll be there. And I went back, I don't know how many times that fellow did come back down there that I know of. But that's the way fellas will do, you know. make out like somebody's doing all this, and then find out where you're gonna be, and then they're on post account. Before Christine died, Charlie Lyle, an old preacher up there, and Charlie's wife, and Lee and Christine went to church up there. And I was supposed to pick them up from church walk. That's what I'm at. Well, I went up to go around Kenny and didn't see nothing, went on up, met them coming, and they was in with the preacher. And I just pulled off the back, come on down, and I seen the light over in the creek. And I told Charlie Love, and I said, you put it away right there. I said, well, thanks, I said, somebody's body. Kenny wasn't supposed to be. I just run that back up here and run over down the river when there's a lot of this trouble about that high and wait right out on the river when there's a big hole of water down and another big one right above. And I know there's things going up to have a boat.
This is up by Irene.
I just got in behind them boats and stood there, you know, and had my spotlight on, and they rolled the boat right up, and there's the jigging, you know, and getting the fish and frogs and come right up just till the boat just hit the gravel. And they aimed to jump out to push it up, get it up over the next cold of water. I popped my light on, you know, and I said, pull her right on up here. And they started to back up. I said, now this way, that 57 there, right down, and I said, I'll keep the bottom of your boat and sink you right in that hole of water. And I could pull it over there. Well, they did. They pulled her over there, and they were two up. And I told them, I said, I'll have to take you in court. And it was midnight then, about midnight. They said, well, what do I do with this boat? I said, that's none of my worries. I said, that's your boat. He said, well, you have to push it up on the bank? I said, yeah, you get up on the front end, and I'll push back here. I didn't even turn to get a hold of it. And they pulled her up, got her up on the bank. I took them out down the road, and got down there where they was at, and they looked in and seen who was in there. He said they was drunk, drinking, though. And they lived right across the field from me, joined me there, just across on the other side of my field. One of them was. And he said, well, said, we've got the preacher and we've got the choir with us to sing for us. And said, we'll have a good time now. Took him out on in and they found me. And that fellow got mad at me and he wouldn't speak to me for about a month. And I run on to him in Bentley's store. And I was sitting down, he come in, and he walked right up in front of me and started racket. He said, you're the fellow arrested, aren't you? I said, yes, sir. And I said, if you open your mouth another time, I said, I'll arrest you again. I just straightened up, you know. And I said, I'll take you right back. If you find me again, he just come back off. It went on in about, I guess, a year. Never would speak to me. And I had a new wagon, you know, a tractor wagon, had a white sidewall car on it, sitting on the bottom of it. I seen him come around, drive down. He come on to me. He said, Mr. Adkins, he said, could I hire that wagon to haul my hay in? Said I've got a field of hay down over yonder and got nothing to hold on. So I got one tractor and nothing, no wagon, and it's going to go to rain. I said, no, sir, you can't hire my wagon. But I said, that's it. You get it and take it over there and haul your hay in. It don't cost you $1. Well, all right. We went and hauled his hay in and come back and thanked me for it. And from that time on, he was the best fellow he ever saw. But he seen he is the man that made the mistake. Another fellow that I had to catch him. He got mad like to go up. He got him fined. He wouldn't speak to me. He lived right down there in the Fort Morris. I forget who it was. That Pat Cooper's. It wasn't Pat. It was Pat's cousin, I believe. He's a Cooper. And he lived there and he had a woman there. Yeah. Well, he got mad at me, and I told her, I said, I had to catch him, take him in. He was violating the law, and I said, I was under oath and under bond. She said, I wish you could shot him and called him that name and killed him. But I didn't know what to think about that. And the next thing I know, she had threw divorce and went to Texas, I believe it was. And then he never would speak to me then. And after I moved up here, he went to Home Cold. He took another man's wife, that little shorty, that preacher, you know, that little wasn't higher than that. And she was a blonde-headed woman, lived up there with Jesse Lee. she was a cooper, factory-like woman, and he took her and went to home coal from about Canada. And he come right down here with a wire and busted his car with a big load of coal right there in the water. I went out there and noticed him. Asked him if anything I could do to help him. He said yes. He pulled her, backed it up there and took the wheel off and I helped him fix it. He thanked me for it, all that thing. And from that on, he's just as good to me as a brother. He seen, you see, that they're the one made the mistake. Girls, first of all, they the law he knows. Sometimes they get mad at him or try to get it shine. But they seem to be good.
I wouldn't want him to miss anything.
A lot of people come off the fingers. Well, the name was off and left and twice. I thought two fellas over there, Amos Howard called me up. Said there's some fellas coming in here from all the way up and I could get Kenny. And he said, I want you to help me. I said, all right, I'll do that. Well, he got up here that I wouldn't come, and he come up over to my house. Well, the way it turned out, he knew who it was. It was his wife's brother was one of them, and one of them, and that this fellow I was telling you about. And they had a big spotlight, and it was about midnight. And me and Amos were driving up that way, and I parked the car. I said, they're over behind the cemetery there where Willie and the two in them buried up on Flora. And it was cliff, you know, and I could see the light shining up towards the sky. I said, they're right in behind there. Well, I thought he had told me the truth about it a bunch from all of here. And we left the car, and I said, we walk up here to the crossing. Well, this there cliff went down like that, and it was just about as high as that table here, and then the crossing was across the fence. I said, well, get right there. Well, I squatted down right here and was ready for him. And they were coming right on shooting with a rifle. Coming right on around. I said, Amos, whenever they get out up here to go across this ripple, I said, I'm going to put a spotlight on them. And I said, we'll hold them right there so they can't get away. Well, I noticed while we was sitting there, he was right up against me, and I could feel his legs just shaking like that, you know. But I never thought about him running. And I was watching them, and when they pulled up there and got out, I popped the flashlight on. The man at the rest, I noticed about it, and I had the gun right there, and he just come down the rifle, and I ready to ride in the rest. I said, drop it or die. He said, he just looked at that gun like that, and he had a big car battery on his back, you know, with a big spotlight. He made his back come. I made him stand back, and I reached over and picked up the rifle. He said, where's your buddy at? Yeah, I thought he wanted to get me to turn around and maybe him jerk fit. I said, I don't know. He said, you ain't got nobody. He said, your name's Adkins, ain't it? I said, yeah. And he said, Amos Howard was with you. I said, I'm satisfied. He said, he ain't nobody. He said, they'll run off and leave you every time. But I said, all right. And I said, the car right down the road there. I said, got to go to town. Well, pulled out and went down the car, and Amos was down at that clock. I said, Amos, what in the world are you doing down here? He said, I thought maybe somebody else was with him and said they would be at the car, trying to get away down to the truck. I never let on. I took them all in. It was final $29.50.
You'll never find your
And that's the fellow that wouldn't speak to him that anymore that come here. I'm telling you that fellow, he just went there and anything. And then he run off and left me then on top of the stone hill there. With some fellow from your brother to the one that had 13, 15, or young one. And they come up the road and they just shooting everything over the people. Me and Amos and Lloyd Bowman behind the cliff there, and they had come out of that bike, and they had squirrels and squirrels, but he had a pistol shoot. And I just jumped out from behind the rock and had the squirrel and demanded the rest. He looked at me a long time. I said, give me that gun. He didn't want to give it up. He did as white as it could be. I had my gun in my hand. If I know the fellow was violating, I didn't aim for it. Let him beat me on the draw. And I had it right in my hand. And I said, lay her over there. He handed it to me. I said, you're under arrest. He said, well, I'll